Well, you know what? I really like how this is working out. You're utilizing space underneath the shelf, and these are out of the way. Before they were laying on a counter somewhere, taking up space. Now they're nice and neat, and I don't have to worry about them. I like it. Let's move on to the shelf. We'll take some of this stuff down here. Oh man, we have to get a ladder. Be right back. Too short. What the heck is going on here? Alright, that works. So, we got some wire here. I don't know where I got this wire from, but it's always good to have wire around to hang stuff. This here, I can get most of the stuff down now. This was one of my wine racks. It's a big old oil rig. Had that as a pattern. Not making those anymore. What do we got here? This one here is for a modern style oil rig. Still have one of those laying around. Not making those anymore. But what I will do, on this one, I will keep the rod on this. This is a little bit too much to try and save. And what I would do is just take some 20 gauge and make little angle irons. That's how I built that. It was back when I was young and had lots of energy. What do we got here? This one here, I might keep some of this stuff around. This is an old beetle. You know, the shape of an old beetle, and that is a wine rack. Built a whole bunch of those. Still have a couple. This one here, this is the new style beetle wine rack that I built. I'll probably recycle some of this stuff here. Take and cut these little circles out. They're a bit of a pain to make. You never know what every once in a while somebody comes to me and says, hey, can you build me a custom wine rack? And that's what I use. These, alright, things are in my way. These are, I'll show you one that's done already. Years and years ago, I don't know if anybody can see that. Wow, look at the cobwebs. Anyway, this opens up and then it closes. This goes on the front axle of a Cessna 150. And then you just grab onto it, and then you can pull your airplane into the hangar and move it around. I built a whole bunch of those years ago. Probably never going to use that ever again. So, that will get recycled. Now I got all this space to put stuff. I like it. Take my mirror down, and we'll do some measurements. So the first piece we're going to do is our back piece, and I have a stud right on the very edge of this, a stud right there, and one right in the corner, of course. So we are 26 3/4. It's kind of squarish. So I'll cut this out of a piece of 2" by 3/16. So I'm just cutting this, my shelf brackets out of a piece of 2.5 by 3/16. So that's what the bracket's going to look like. Now I went 1 7/8 down so I can put a little tack on the bottom. And then on the end over here I'll put a little piece of 3/16 square stock and bring it up. That way that the shelf will never ever fall off. Well, that's going to have to get zip cut. So it's just going to take a little bit of time. So there's no real rules when you're building a shelf, just to make sure it's level, that's all. And make sure that it's going to be strong enough for what you're going to do. First thing I want to do, make sure this fits in here perfectly. Okay. What I want to do is I want to measure or mark where my other stud's going to be. So I can drill some holes. Mount this. So of course we're going to have holes here and on the edges, and I'm just going to go 1/2 inch or so from the end. And usually when I'm building a shelf I'll put the I'll just creep the hole a little bit more towards the top. That way if there's any flex, you'll be pulling on the top, not on the, on the bottom or in the middle. So we'll go about 3/4 of an inch down. That'll be good. Now these, there's no rule. You don't want them too tight or else your shelf will fold in. You don't want them too far apart or else you just got too much of a span. But it's nice to know where your studs go so that you don't put this too close, because that makes it tough to screw that into the wall. I think what we're going to do here, if I pull these in maybe 5 inches from the edge, I think that'll look good. Now remember, this, you may not have a piece of wood that's going to span this whole chunk. Now the reason you want to make sure that, I got it 26 3/4 the whole way is so that I can screw this into a stud. These, you know, let's say you only had enough room for, or you only had enough wood for smaller shelf, you might want to bring it in. But I'm going to be pretty close. I'll probably be an inch gap on the outside. I got a chunk of plywood in the shed, so I think that's going to work out okay. Biggest thing to do is mark where you're going to weld, and we got to take and get that slag off there. And just use a flapper disc for that. So I'm using my 90 jig here. And then that's just going to make life easier. If you haven't built yourself a 90 jig yet, you should. They are the best. Takes all the guesswork out of everything. Bring that up just a bit more. Right about there. Nice thing about this, you can get it all nice and straight before you weld it up. Should do. Yeah. This makes it a little bit tougher because my table goes like this. So if you're going to measure 90, you want to measure it off your right off of your bracket. And it looks pretty good. Perfect right there. But you really got to make sure you're holding everything up straight and yeah. Building anything with a 90 in it, that's tough stuff. Okay, so we're going to tack this. I'll tack it on the bottom, and I'm going to confirm that we're going to be straight up and down, and then I'll put another tack on the front. Yeah, if you're ever building a table, I built this out of 3/16, and it comes in a big roll, so it's never going to be flat. You got to go at least 3/8 or above to get it flat. Makes it a bit of a pain when you're building stuff, trust me. That's pretty close. Like it. Now whenever you weld flat bar, you always get a bit of a whoop-de-doo in there. So you got to straighten that out. Yeah, sure. Now I'm not going to worry about this, but if you're worried about your plywood shifting or moving, we've got these little tabs here, so it's not, it can't go this way. It can only go that way. But let's say you got something you're worried it's going to warp. You could put a little tab on here, and then screw the shelf in there. For this little tiny one, I'm not going to worry about that. Time to go onto the wall. Now the funnest part of the whole job, finishing it, getting it done. I'm just going to pick a spot. Doesn't have to be anything real specific. Right there, looks good. Put one here and then we'll level her out. Come on. I knew that was going to happen. Find my little level here. Oh, just about got her dead on here. We're talking about just micro. Perfect. So even with the 3/16, there's still a little bit of flex, but not much. Way better than those cheapies that you buy at the store. Okay, let's cut a piece of plywood for this. Time to fit her in. Perfect. That is going to work out nice. Now let's use that one more than I use this one. Oh my goodness. Definitely a lot of weight in that one. That looks okay. I like it. I just have to decide, do I want to go that way or this way? I can come up like this. Bring the little stuff up here. That might work out better. I like it. One more step closer to organizing. It'll never ever get done. Organizing always changes because, you know, you start doing other things and then next thing you know it, you need room for other stuff. But this is gonna help. I'm gonna come up with a little different mirror. I couldn't really see anything in my eye with this mirror anyway. It's just too old. Well, it might not look like much, but we got some stuff done. You know, I got my drill hung, I got my little nut driver done, and I built the shelf. Now, all this stuff used to be laying down here. Now it's up on the wall and up on a shelf. It's one step closer to total organization, which, like I had mentioned before, will never ever happen. But if you can just be a little bit more organized in your shop, life just gets a little easier. Now, I was mentioning this shelf. This shelf used to be over one more this way, and then I had my drill press here. So that's giving me a little bit more room. Open this area up back over here, and give me a little bit of room for my, more room for my drill press. That will be determined later, but I'm pretty sure it's going to help out a little bit. So these little projects, get them done, because they will make your life a little bit easier in the long run. So until next time, thanks for watching. Stay tuned.